USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey. How are you tonight, Lauren?
Fantastic. The sun is shining. The rain has stopped for a minute in Wheeling, so it's all good. How about you?
Well, now, interesting you bring that up, because we were talking, I want to say, on the last show about you guys got hit with, torrential rain to the point that poor Miles's the place where we play baseball effectively got washed away, and then didn't you have more flooding this weekend?
Yeah, it's actually been wild here in Wheeling. Nothing like I've ever seen before. At one point, a couple days ago, all the roads surrounding our house were all closed with flooding. Now, thankfully, this time around wasn't as catastrophic as the last time around, but we certainly got some damage from it. So I'm glad it's drying out a little bit and the sun is shining. Just being grateful for what we got.
Well, as you should be. Now, speaking of which, though, we were just talking about Miles, and I get your poor son, your 8-year-old boy. Did he catch Lyme disease out playing baseball? I mean, how do we know what happened to you?
Oh my gosh, it has been crazy. That flooding happened one day, and then literally the next day, Miles had like a bullseye around his whole neck. Like, I don't know, I'll have to show you a picture of it, but it was crazy. So after a couple of visits to the doctor, he indeed was positive for Lyme disease. I think he actually got it at nature camp, but who knows? Who knows? But I will tell you that the Lyme disease has been problematic because he's been stuck inside. The medicine that he's on has given him like blisters and stuff on his face. It makes you really sensitive to the sun. So anybody listening, like, do not mess with Lyme disease. It's really really tough. And so in addition to being cooped up in the house, we've been having a little battle. He's fine being inside because he has his Fortnite and his YouTube and his iPad. And I hate all that, extra screen time. But, on that note, though, I do have to say a public thank you because you are so sweet for sending Miles such a thoughtful care package. We've talked about him being into baseball, and so you sent him, 3 baseball books, it was such a thoughtful surprise. So I seriously wanted to thank you for that.
I don't know. I mean, again, I just, it just felt bad for him being trapped indoors with Lyme disease, and he was just getting into baseball. So I thought, this will be an alternative to the looking at the screens. But at the same time, we were joking about this off air that the curse is that, I think we've talked about this in the show. If you have 3 of anything, that's a collection. And it's just sort of like, oh, God, I just started this kid down the road to collecting baseball books. And it's like, I hope that doesn't come back and bite us in the butt.
Betty White stamps might just be next. Who knows?
Oh, there we go. All right. So, well, anyway, again, here's hoping quick recovery. He's taking his medication and hopefully will be outside again soon. But anyway, thinking of your son, Miles, made me think of toys. And that's what we're doing for this show, right? Toy Story? Is that where we're headed?
Yeah. So some news came out about Toy Story 5 recently that it's coming back. And so, I watched the trailer and it just kind of got me thinking about Miles and the generation of kids that we have today that, these kids were like born with an iPad in their hands. And if you look at the premise of Toy Story 5, it's so funny that like the gang is back, Woody, Buzz, Jessie, but they're up against a whole new villain, which is a tablet. But, it's kind of crazy, right?
Well, and by the way, just want to stress here that the folks from Pixar were very careful. Almost immediately when the news broke about this toys versus tech theme for Toy Story 5, to the effect of, just be clear, not necessarily the villain. it's a challenge, because that's the thing. Pixar doesn't like to have straightforward villains. So, but anyway, I'm sorry, didn't mean to disrupt there.
No. Okay, it's a challenge, and I would say having a kid that is growing up in this time, it is a challenge. All right, so we will drop villain, but I think the more interesting part, as I was like doing a deep dive into this, is what does this movie say about Disney itself? You know, is it a little bit of a personal reflection? I don't know. You know, between what's going on with AI and the shoppable streaming we've talked about and everything else they're testing right now, I just think this one hits a little bit different. It just maybe their most self-aware movie yet. But before we get into all of that, on today's show, Jim, why don't we thank our sponsor?
Oh, sure. Okay. And if this episode has you thinking that it might be time to escape the scroll and make some real life memories, our friends at unlockmagic.com have you covered. Whether you're headed to Walt Disney World or Universal Orlando, they offer real discounts, up to 12% off of theme park tickets. And by the way, same trusted team behind the DVC rental store and the DVC resale market, and they've already helped families save over $10 million. So just pick your dates, grab your tickets, and keep more of your budget for good stuff like what? Merch, snacks, and that souvenir that you'll definitely not regret buying. Anyway, before you pack your bags, head to unlockmagic.com and make the most of your next trip. And by the way, pointless trivia, and again, just, you know, before we jump into our new segment here, just so you know, in Toy Story 5, they actually age up Bonnie to Miles's age. She's 8 years old.
Yeah, and I bet her mom thinks the tablet is a challenge.
There we go.
Just saying.
Right. Okay. All right. So back to tech. You were talking.
All right. Back to tech. So I mentioned what Disney is up against right now with AI and how to really bring content and consumer shopping together. So I saw this article recently about their new additions to shoppable streaming. So what they're doing right now is Disney is testing new ways to change kind of how we shop, to make it even easier. Shocker there, right? I swear, like, and in the next couple of years, we're going to think of something and it's going to be in our shopping cart. But so they rolled out these two new shoppable formats. They're on Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN. The first one is called Shop the Stream. So just kind of imagine this. You're watching a show and up pops a QR code. I know you've seen these before. You scan it and then it opens up a storefront with products that is inspired by whatever is on the screen. And this isn't like totally new to Disney. It's new to Disney streaming apps. But like if you are on Amazon Prime, I think right now they do it best. Like if you're watching, say a progressive ad, it'll be like scan this and get a quote to your email, that kind of situation. So I think they're probably just trying to stay relevant there. So from my understanding, they're launching it with Carrie Underwood's brand during Project Runway to try it out. So if you like what you see on the runway, you can literally buy it as you're watching it. And this is kind of like, again, not totally new. Do you remember that show that was on broadcast with Jessica Simpson? And they had, I mean, this is throwing back. This is probably like, 8 years or so at this point. But you could get online as these new pieces were being rolled out, like on the runway, and you could buy them from Macy's specifically during the show. Do you remember that?
I don't. Though, forgive me, you were just mentioning Project Runway, and I know they're reviving it again with Heidi Klum, but I'm kind of boycotting it because, again, we're very big Tim Gunn fans here in the house, all right? And it's just the fact that...
I love Tim Gunn.
Yeah, just sort of, how can you do Project Runway without Tim Gunn? All right, anyway, I'm sorry, I diverted the conversation. We were talking about this scannable stuff that they had tried previously. And I guess for me, what's kind of intriguing about this is that you would think there are opportunities that Disney, or ABC for that matter, would think, oh, this is perfect. We should do this. I mean, for example, this past month over on General Hospital on ABC, for the first time, I want to say in 5 years, they did a nurses' ball. And it's a very big thing in the history of this soap opera. It's when the cast members do all sorts of songs and dances and that sort of thing. But typically what they do is they offer a line of merch supporting the nurses' ball. You can buy a T-shirt. You know, and in fact, I bring that up because just yesterday, Nancy was going through her phone and it's like, there's a nurses' ball T-shirt that they just did. But she only found out about it by accident over at shopabc.com. And you would think if ever there should have been a moment that a QR code should have shown up.
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, we're doing the nurses' ball, and hey, you can get a T-shirt, and hey, scan your phone now.
Yeah, I can't believe they missed out on that opportunity. I mean, I watch a ton of Bravo, and I mean, every night on Watch What Happens Live, they have some type of merch, some kind of shot ski or whatever that you can buy in real time. So it's not surprising that Disney's trying to lean more into this to kind of catch up. So the second shoppable format, this one is a virtual concession stand, and this one's powered by GoPuff. So this one's like you're halfway through your show, you get hungry, you click the screen, and boom, you get some snacks delivered. So I guess it would be the equivalent of like a DoorDash, but within your show. So you really don't have to get up to like bake the popcorn. I don't know.
Wow. I mean, obviously, that's got to be a more urban thing. I mean, I say this living out in the woods.
You're not getting it out of your place.
No, dang, suddenly it's like, I want egg rolls. And it's just sort of like, well, I'm sorry. We can't strap them to a hawk and fly them to your house. But maybe a drone. I mean, isn't Amazon exploring drone delivery?
I don't know if they're still exploring that or not.
Okay.
Like technology is moving so fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what Disney's doing specifically, they're using AI and first-party data to personalize all of this. So what shows you see the ads in, what products you're shown, and even when you're shown them. And I just wanted to clarify because, advertising, marketing, communications is kind of my background, so I don't expect everybody listening to know all of this. But when I say first-party data, what I'm talking about is this is the information that Disney collects directly from you. Like, what do you watch on Disney Plus? What have you clicked on? What are your kids rewatching 10 times in a row? They're not buying this data from other companies. It's coming straight from their own customers. And when you sign on to have these streaming apps, you're actually allowing them to use this data to tailor your advertising experience. So, if you ever get served those creepy ads that you're like, oh my gosh, I was just talking about sharks, and now you're getting served those types of ads. That's what it means with first-party data.
Interesting. Okay. And you literally, when you sign into the agreement for, to get the subscription streaming service, that language is included as part of that thing we all never read, right?
We all never read it. And honestly, at this point, like, I'm fine with it because I would rather have things tailored to, what I'm actually looking for, what could be helpful. But I don't know if you're watching like Bluey or Frozen or whatever and a QR code comes up or you click something on the screen and now it's in your car. If, that's as helpful as, I'm looking for insurance and then an insurance ad pops up. But whatever, Disney's going to get theirs too.
No, I get that. I guess what's intriguing here is while the tech is new. The instinct, sort of, face it, hitting people at that moment when their sales resistance is at their lowest. And the irony here is this goes all the way back to Walt Disney himself. I mean, think about the Mickey Mouse Club in the 1950s. And that show was basically a launch pad for lunchboxes, Halloween costumes, record albums, you name it. And in fact, there's this amazing story, Lauren, about how if it weren't for the Mickey Mouse Club, Mattel, as the giant we know today, wouldn't exist. They were among the very first companies to license the Mickey Mouse Club, a toy line based on the Mickey Mouse Club. And they had I want to say a mouse guitar that was this hard plastic thing with a crank on the side of it that played the Mickey Mouse Club theme. But I want to say in year one of the show, they licensed the ability to make that. They bought airtime on the show to say, hey, you like Jimmy Dodd? And when he plays his guitar, you can play your guitar at home. Well, you can turn the crank, but it makes music. And those sold crazy good. And that's what got us the Mattel company we have today. But anyway, back to QR codes. I mean, again, the delivery method has changed. Now we're QR coding rather than back in the day it was a Sears catalog, but the core idea is still the same, right? With the notion of building emotional connections first, and the sales will follow, right?
Oh, man, I miss the Sears catalog. That hits different.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying, sometimes it's so nice to have something tangible.
It is. But at the same time, think about back in the day when you'd go out to the mailbox and there'd be 5 and 6 catalogs sitting in there. And face it, how many of us actually paged through those things? We piled them up, and over time, eventually put them in the recycle bin.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and we are evolving here, and so, I totally get what's going on, and it's smart to just meet people where they already are, on the couch, with their phone in their hand, ready to tap. But I will tell you, for me being, in this space and fairly advanced, I have yet to buy anything from a QR code on my TV. I've seen them lots of times, but I've not been compelled enough to do that yet.
All of this is about comfort level and trust levels. I mean, remember, it wasn't all that long ago where the notion of you go on Amazon and you look at an item and it's like, let me get this straight. I buy this and you send it to me. And it's like, geez, that's not how I shop. I like to go into the store and walk up to the rack and take the shirt off and look at it. But think about, when was the last time you did that?
Yeah, I'm way more of an online shopper probably than in person now. But I still do like to have the option, I have to say, depending what it is that we're looking for. But getting back to Toy Story and this kind of, full circle moment and this smart merchandising, right? It's about making the story, I think, relevant to what's happening in the world. And I feel like that's what, keeps cropping up in these movies.
Oh, absolutely. But at the same time, the real irony here is if we go all the way back to the first Toy Story film, well, first of all, it was a buddy picture at the insistence of the then head of Disney Studios, Jeffrey Katzenberg. And remember, the whole notion of a buddy picture is first you hate each other and then you love each other. And so they came up with this interesting concept that what if it's a battle between two toys, and we have, in fact, going all the way back to what we were just talking about, the Mickey Mouse show, or, back in the 1950s. But what was really popular on television back then were Westerns. And so here's Woody, a character that we had eventually found out that, starred in his own television show, kind of like Howdy Doody. But again, that was in the 1950s, whereas when we got to the 1960s, what excited kids then was the space program. And so you have your astronaut action figure going up against your old school cowboy toy. It was kind of an interesting way to tie into, well, I mean, I'm not going to say it was relevant. This movie came out in 95, but it was at least something people could see and like, okay, I get that. That's an interesting conflict.
And I never realized that. I learn something new every day. I feel like I say that every week. So leading into we've come a long way since 1995. And I mean, I think that we all collectively thought the story was over with Toy Story. And, you know, when was it that it was announced that it was they were going to be making a Toy Story 5?
Well, okay. The interesting thing with that is Toy Story 4 came out in 2019 and then made the most money of any of them. Mind you, when Toy Story 3 came out in 2010, it made just over $1 billion. And that was double what Toy Story 2 had made back in 1999. So it was weeks later, it's like, we're making a 4. And same thing. 4 came out 2019 and made even more money, a skosh more than 3. And it's just like, okay, we're going to circle back on it. But I'm not gonna lie, Lauren, that had kind of Toy Story 4 was kind of shaky. The first 3 films of the series I felt had very, very solid stories, where 4 was kind of all over the place.
It felt different.
It did. But on the other hand, have you ever watched when they do that alpine skiing, when they come off of the big jump and they're soaring through the air and somebody looks like, oh no, they're out of control. They're shaking their poles, their skis are a little loose. This is going to end badly. But at the last second, they stick the landing. And I think for a lot of people, that's what Toy Story 4 is, that they stick the landing. People are willing to forgive anything if it ends well. And that ending where Buzz turns to Woody and says, she'll be fine, as in Bonnie will be fine. You can go off and you have your happy ending with Bo Peep. For a lot of people, that was that emotional moment where your friends said goodbye, and Woody, who was feeling, again, we've been talking about relevance as part of the show, he's feeling kind of irrelevant in Bonnie's world, and that he had a new mission and a new purpose. It's like that ending, people walked out of the theater, it's like, that was a good movie. Please disregard everything else that happened during the other 90 minutes of that film.
I feel like that was the collective closure for the series. And then after the whole Chapek era, it was like Bob Chapek came back in. This is just how I felt, and was like, all right, we need to make some cash here. What's going on? We're going to give you some more Frozens. We got at least 2 of those. We got another Coco. We got some more Toy Story. What do you want? It's coming. Okay. Like, that's kind of how I felt like we got Toy Story 5. I mean, did you have that similar feeling, or do you think it was more strategic than that?
I'm not going to lie here, Lauren. My concern was that I think 4, with its really strong ending, was a beautiful little cap on the show. But mind you, I felt the same way about Toy Story 3 when you literally saw Andy drive off to college. And you had Woody on Bonnie's porch, and it's so long, pal. And again, the series ended. So that's the thing. It's just sort of like, I worry that when you do that, when you make too many sequels, the goodwill that you've engendered with the audience, you can undermine that. I mean, for example, I love the first Despicable Me movie. I think it has a wonderful story, an interesting character. It builds beautifully. But I've seen every one of the Despicable Me's and the Minions since, and they feel like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. They're less fun. I mean, it's still nice to be back in that world and still nice to see those characters, but the first film had some genuine emotion to it. It had some stakes, and lately it just sort of feels like, and we're back, so go buy the Happy Meal.
But I I will say, I'm wondering if this is going to turn out, and we are going to talk about Toy Story 5 and what was just released, but I'm almost wondering if this was going to be like an Inside Out 2 situation where, because it's so timely and relevant, and like having anxiety as a character and having now, this challenge of an iPad, I wonder if it's going to really resonate with people. And Lightyear didn't do the thing, so I think that kind of proved that like they need the crew back together.
Well, but what's interesting about that is that if you watch Lightyear as a movie rather than, okay, that's an offshoot of Toy Story, I will argue it's really not a bad film. In fact, I enjoyed it quite a bit. But again, I didn't see it opening weekend. I saw it like 6 weeks, 8 weeks after. And by then I had heard so many people badmouth the movie. When I finally sat down in a movie theater and watched it, it's like, this is fine. I don't get what's going on.
You just like the little cat. What was the cat's name?
Oh, well, Socks is pretty cool.
Oh, Socks. Yeah, I did love Socks. Okay, so Jim, let's tell the folks what Pete Docter just came out and said not that long ago about Toy Story 5.
Well, he described the core theme of this film, by the way, coming out June 19th of next year, 2026, again, as toy meets tech. That, and to stress that our favorite toys, the ones, that were previously in Andy's bedroom and now in Bonnie's bedroom, are being challenged by what kids actually want today, which is electronics.
Yes, which we've mentioned before. The challenge. Her name is Lilypad, and that is the iPad-like electronic that Bonnie's parents got her so that she could be more socialized, from my understanding.
Yeah, and as with all kids, again, when you hand them a device and this becomes part of their world, that becomes a fixation to the detriment of the actual playthings in her room.
Yeah, and so isn't the other interesting thing is that Jessie is kind of the new Woody, right? She's kind of in charge of the toys, with Buzz being like her right hand. Yeah,
the second in command. And by the way, as somebody who's loved Jessie since she came on the canvas in Toy Story 2, I love, this is a smart idea. My concern, though, again, with Toy Story 5 is, okay, Woody is off in the world with Bo Peep, rescuing lost toys. How do they get him back in Bonnie's bedroom?
They call him on his iPhone.
Oh, well, there we go. My mistake. I
guess we shall see how he comes back. And, I don't know. I always felt like Woody was he always wanted to be in charge. So I'll be interested to see the dynamic of not only Lilypad and Bonnie and, how that could divide the room of toys, but how the Jessie-Woody dynamic is going to be as well.
Now, speaking of the Woody-Jessie dynamic, when we get back from this break, I'm going to share a story in relation to Jessie. In fact, a personal encounter with John Lasseter and the Jessie doll that my daughter had. But first, this.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks. Smooth, bright, deliciously crafted. Introducing Starbucks Sansera Blend, their smoothest, brightest coffee yet. It's a new kind of light roast, one that's packed with so much flavor, it shines no matter how you brew it. So go ahead and try it hot, iced, black, or with a splash of creamer. Visit athome.starbucks.com/Sansera-blend-coffee to bring Starbucks Sansera Blend home.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love. Now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
And we're back. Okay, Lauren, first of all, you'll love this. We owe Jessie, the cowgirl, to Nancy Lasseter, John's wife, who, after watching the first movie and seeing that Disney wanted to do a sequel, sort of pulled her husband aside and said, you need a stronger female character in this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bo Peep is fine, but there should be a strong female character in this movie. So Jessie came about, as Mrs. Lasseter, putting her thumb on this film.
And I love a strong female lead. Good job, Mrs. Lasseter.
There we go. Okay, now, that movie arrives in theaters November of 1999. And we got, for my then 5-year-old daughter, a Jessie doll. Which she loved. She slept with it. She played with it. And okay, so we jump ahead now to, it's October of 2001. And John Lasseter has been invited to speak at the School of Television and Film, to be particular at the Mayer Theater in October of 2001. By the way, just before Monsters, Inc. is opening in theaters. And so I was out in LA at the time, and I decided I would take Alice's mom, my ex, Michelle Valladolid, with me to this talk. And what was interesting is Michelle decided to bring Alice's Jessie doll with her. So John gets up on stage and proceeds to tell the story of the origins of Toy Story 2. And by the way, you'll also love this, Lauren. All right, so John, obviously, again, a collector, and what he collected was Toy Story toys. So his entire office, if you went into John's office in Emeryville, there were shelf after shelf of these Toy Story toys in mint condition, still in their boxes, okay? And John Lasseter's 5 sons would come to visit Dad at work. And they're like, oh, Dad, look at your wonderful Toy Story toys. Can we play with them? And, oh, no. Get your grubby mitts off of my mint condition, still in box toys. And but John eventually realized, oh, wow, wouldn't that be torture for a toy? The notion of here's a child who actually wants you to play with them, but you have to stay in your box. You have to be mint. You lose your value if that happens. And so to hammer home this point, at one point in the talk, Lasseter is showing slides up on the screen, and he hammers on the control, and he said, this is my favorite toy from when I was a kid. And it's a Casper the Friendly Ghost talking doll that Mattel made back in 1961. And when they were making the original Toy Story, Lauren, John Lasseter's mother went up into the attic and found this thing because her son had mentioned, we're doing a pulled string toy as one of our characters. And it's like, oh, you had one when you were a little boy. Let me go find it. And so John then brought it into work. And everybody was like, wow, this is your Woody. And they pulled the string in the back, and Casper still talked and all that. And what was so funny is that when they showed it to Tom Hanks, when they were recruiting him to come be part of the original Toy Story, Tom was so on board with the idea that when it came time to write the phrases that Woody would say when you pulled the string, Hanks actually helped. I mean, there's a snake in my boot and somebody's poisoned the water hole. Tom Hanks helped to write those lines, Lauren.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. So anyway, so John shows the picture up on the screen of his Casper the Friendly Ghost. And also kind of ironic that John has this collection of Toy Story toys in their original boxes. But one of the things that John was absolutely fierce about was that if you were a collector and came at him with a toy in mint condition in a box, he would not sign it. It's like, I don't want to empower the Al McWiggins of the world, the guy who, the notion of you're going to take this and sell it to somebody else and make a lot of money. And this is a toy. It should be played with. So anyway, that night, it's after this talk that he's giving at the School of Television and Film. And Michelle and I get the opportunity to meet with John backstage at the Mayer Theater. And at one point, Michelle pulls out Alice's Jessie doll, and she even brings up a picture on her phone that shows Alice at home in bed sleeping with the Jessie doll. And Lasseter just his face almost splits open. He's beaming at this image, and then he tells the story about how it's literally the very first day that the original Toy Story is in theaters in November of 1995. And he's at the Burbank airport about to get on a flight to go back up to the Bay Area where his home is. And he sees, I got to remember, this is 1995, back when you could go to the airport, and if you were picking up somebody, you could walk to the gate. You could meet them there. And so John's there waiting to board his plane, and he sees this mom and a little boy who come to meet Daddy at the gate, but the little boy has a Woody doll, and he's so clearly proud and excited that he's got this Toy Story toy, and he can't wait to show it to his dad as soon as he gets off the plane. And John's like, wow, these don't belong to us anymore. They're out in the world, and people are loving these characters. And it's like, ooh. So that's the thing, to see when Michelle shows John Alice's Jessie doll and how all scuffed up and grubby it is, because this is a 5-year kid who's literally playing with the doll every day, and John's like, you know what, this'll sign. And so, he's like, he grabs a Sharpie, and on the very same foot that Buzz and Woody have signed that they are owned by Andy, Alice has the Jessie doll signed by John Lasseter.
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
Yeah. And now, mind you, my daughter's 31 now, and I want to say the last time I visited her in Long Beach, she still had Jessie. But yeah, I love that was the thing. John not only talked the talk, he walked the walk. And it just, the whole notion of, yes, I'm a collector, and yes, I didn't let my kids play with it, but I'm not going to empower the Al Wiggins of the world. But anyway, how about this? Let's take another break here, and let's talk a bit about how we got Toy Story 2, but let's talk a bit about Toy Story 3.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And we're back. Okay, now, Lauren, I have to ask, and again, there's 4 of them now. Do you have a favorite of the Toy Story films?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I feel like they all came at different times in my life, but I don't know. I have to go back to the old school. I do like Toy Story 1 probably.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite?
Well, I was lucky enough to see Toy Story 3. I want to say like 3 months before it opened in theaters. Have I ever told you the story about seeing it in Las Vegas at CinemaCon?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So again, CinemaCon, for those of you who don't know, this is this week-long thing that's held in Vegas every late winter, early spring. And the idea is the exhibitors, the people who physically own the movie theaters or the film chains, go to Las Vegas to get an early look at films that'll be coming out that summer, with the notion of this is the film you want to get behind. This is the one you want to put in most of your theaters because this will make the most money. And so Disney decided to preview, again, as a treat for the folks at CinemaCon. They ran everything but, I want to say, the post-credit scene for Toy Story. And I want to stress here, people who go to CinemaCon aren't necessarily film fans. Again, they run movie theaters, but they aren't necessarily film fans. To be honest, they're most excited about you going to the concession stand and buying a $7 soda and a $10 tub of popcorn, because that's really where they make their money. And so, all right, so picture this, Lauren. It's a room full of people who look just like me. They're old, little, gray, fat men who own movie theaters. And they've gotten up at 8 o'clock in the morning so they can travel to Caesars, to the Coliseum, and watch this film. So that, they're there at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're already grumpy that they had to get up early to watch this Pixar movie. And again, we talked earlier in today's show about how Toy Story 3 ends with Woody and Buzz saying goodbye to Andy, him driving off to college, and Andy handing the toys off to Bonnie so that they'll be played with, that they won't be, locked away in the attic. And again, remember, this thing ends. There's no credits. There's no post-credit scene. So remember how Toy Story 3 ends. And suddenly, as soon as the camera moves up and you see that the sky is filled with those Pixar clouds, the lights immediately come up. And it's 200 people, again, little old gray men like me, openly weeping, all right? Suddenly it's like, oh shit, suck it up, Buttercup. They weren't ready to be caught crying in a movie. And so everyone around me is like, oh, that's going to sell a lot of popcorn. Oh my God. We're going to sell so much soda. Nobody wanted to admit that the movie had moved them. But yeah, it also, I think, to be honest, has my favorite film payoff in the history of Hollywood. I mean, think about it, Lauren. Back in 1995, we traveled to Pizza Planet, and we had Buzz and Woody get trapped in the claw machine with the little green men, the aliens. And that's where we first met the claw. That was introduced as a concept in the Toy Story world. Now we jump ahead to 2010. And remember, there's that kind of horrifying scene, just before the end of the movie where all of the toys have been dumped at the landfill and they're now in the incinerator. And
oh, that was the worst.
Well, but that's the thing. Think about, this is when you're dealing with master filmmakers. Because think about it. It's the whole point of that scene is keeping it going. They resign themselves to their fate. They're sliding down the hill into into the incinerator, and you see them reach out and hold each other's hands, and it's like you were in this together, and then suddenly out of nowhere there's a light from above, and the giant claw comes in, and they're lifted to safety, and you get that one moment where you have the three little aliens who, the claw, 15 years to pay off a gag. But no, brilliant stuff. And ultimately, again, not going to lie, I'm still concerned about, especially given how strong the end was for Toy Story 4, about whether, I don't want Toy Story 5 to undo a good, strong end for Toy Story 4. But given that these are guys who did the Claw, I'm willing to take a chance.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. The thought of it is growing on me because when it first came out, I was like, I don't know if we need another one. But we shall see. And I mean, the reason we're getting Toy Story 5 is because there is more to the story to tell. And that is just like this episode. So next week on I Want That Too, the saga kind of is continuing with this. But this time we've got to go back to where it all started to understand, I think, a little bit more of where we are today. But with that being said, I think it's time we close up shop today, sir.
Oh, okay. And again, more stories come back next week, folks. But if you want to keep up on everything that's happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, please follow us on social. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
And if you'd like today's episode, leave us a quick review. It really helps more Disney fans find us, and it means a lot.
It does. And if you have questions or an idea for future episode, please shoot us a message. You can reach me at jim@jimhillmedia.com. And Lauren?
I'm at lauren@laurenhersey.com. And we absolutely love hearing from you guys. But that does it for today's show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.